Welcome to Please Me, the award-winning bilingual sexuality podcast bringing you bold conversations and big clit energy. As a female host in a male-dominated industry, I'm thrilled to announce that Please Me is the #1 ranked sexuality podcast in the United States and worldwide, covering topics on sexual health, intimacy, and sexual empowerment. I'm Eve, your host, on a journey from trauma to sexual liberation. Join me and my guests as we dive into conversations around orgasm equality, self-love, body positivity, and essential sex education. Let's reclaim pleasure and close the orgasm gap, one empowering conversation at a time. Last week on the Please Me podcast, I did a solo episode about how to create your own sexual health bug-out bag, which was a practical guide to bedroom preparedness, sexual wellness, and intimacy confidence. We break down common bedroom challenges and how to be prepared with the right tools, communication, and safety strategies, because nothing is sexier than feeling safe, confident, and ready for anything. Today, I'm excited to welcome Miss Marla Renee Stewart, a certified sexologist who is bringing sexy back to sex education. She's the owner of Velvet Lips, a sexual education company, and the co-founder of the popular conference Sex Down South. Today, we're diving into the topic of seduction and exploring different seduction styles. I'm also excited to debut my new course, the Sexual Longevity Protocol, the private client blueprint for lifelong sexual pleasure. For a one-time fee of just $47, you'll learn the same protocol I share with my sexual health physical therapy clients who come to me with concerns related to sexual function and intimacy. Most women will experience vaginal atrophy in their lifetime, and most men will deal with erectile dysfunction as they age, which often comes with changes in penile tissue and size if circulation and tissue health are not maintained. My protocol focuses on prevention so you can maintain sexual health and pleasure for years to come. Visit pleaseme.online to learn more. Want to ask a question for the Please Me podcast? Join the conversation on Patreon or subscribe to my Substack newsletter for exclusive content, behind-the-scenes updates, and a chance to have your questions featured on the show. You can also join the Please Me Health Collective on SDC.com, the world's premier ethically non-monogamous platform for swingers, polyfolks, and more. Use code 37340 for a free trial membership and access to my growing community, including free monthly webinars. Please also follow me on Instagram at Please Me by Eve Creations. Please Me is for mature audiences, so sit back, relax, and surrender to the pleasure of Please Me.
Yeah, so there's so many things that make people a good seducer. I think a lot of times when people think like, oh, seduction looks like this, or they've seen something on TV of what seduction looks like, that's really not the case, right? Seduction is about what are your own sexual assets and how are you using them in a way that's most beneficial to you to connect with someone else.
Ladies, let's get personal for a minute. What does your vaginal health routine look like? Because as we mature, our intimate self-care needs an upgrade. If hormone shifts have you feeling dry, less sensitive, or just not quite like yourself, I've got a simple 3-step protocol I'm loving. Every morning I use my lady pump to increase blood flow and wake up the lady bits. And yes, it comes with 3 attachments for all the sensations. Then I apply Shamelessly Aroused by Shameless Care, formulated with sildenafil, the active ingredient used in Viagra, to support stronger arousal, better lubrication, and more responsive orgasms. Pair that with a daily self-love ritual, and you got a powerful daytime combo. At night, I use Parlor Games estrogen and progesterone creams to support healthy hormone levels and resilient vaginal tissue. Fewer oops moments when I sneeze, and way more confidence when intimacy calls. Dryness, decreased sensitivity, frequent UTIs, incontinence, low blood flow? These 3 upgrades can be a total game changer, because intimate health isn't indulgent, it's essential. And trust me, you'll feel the difference. Ladies, whether you are just starting your menopause journey or well into it and have questions about hormone replacement therapy, you're not alone. Many women experience vaginal dryness, decreased sensitivity, and urinary incontinence, like leaking when you sneeze, laugh, or exercise. These symptoms can be frustrating and limiting, but they are also very treatable. I experienced this myself and decided to try Parlor Games topical estrogen and progesterone creams. Within 1 month of consistent use, my incontinence completely resolved. Topical estrogen helps restore tissue health, improve sensitivity, and support bladder control, while topical progesterone supports hormonal balance. If you are ready to stop suffering in silence, check the show notes for the link to Silky Peach, the topical estrogen cream, and Vibrant Third, the topical progesterone cream. I feel relieved and confident again, and I know you can too. Hello, and welcome to Please Me, the podcast that aims to destigmatize conversations about sex and sexual health by turning the sheets into our classroom. Today, I am so excited to welcome Marla Renee Stewart to the show. She is a certified sexologist, author, and sexual strategist who runs her own sexuality company called Velvet Lips. She's also the co-founder of Sex Down South Conference, and she's studied human sexuality for more than 22 years and has given over 600 workshops all around the world. She has been featured on a variety of media outlets such as Netflix's Trigger Warning and Love and Hip Hop Atlanta. She has also been a lecturer, or is a lecturer, for women's and gender studies and sociology at Clayton State University, and has received the ASECT Professional Standard of Excellence Award and the ASECT Sexuality Educator Award. So with all of that being said, she is probably the most qualified person that has ever been on the show. I want to welcome you to Please Me. How are you today, Marla?
I'm excellent. Thank you so much. Wonderful introduction. I'm happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Well, Marla and I know each other for a little while, and one of the things that I love about Marla is that she likes to talk about sex just as much as I do. And it's really rare to find somebody in that same headspace. So welcome to Please Me, and I can't wait to have this conversation with you.
Yes, I'm excited. I know when we connected on that, I was like, oh my God, you like to talk about sex just as much as I do. I was like, it's never, ever too early to talk about sex. Like, what? Wake up with it on the mind. So,
Yeah,
which
go
is
to bed
why
with
I'm
it on the
glad I
mind.
do what I do.
Exactly. You're perfectly aligned to your mission. And so today we're going to be talking a little bit. First of all, I want to talk about your company, Velvet Lips, and I want to know what sorts of things you offer for your clients.
Absolutely. So my company, Velvet Lips, I started a little bit more than 15 years ago. And what I do is I hold workshops for people to help enhance their sex skills, help them with communication, and really how to understand themselves better in seduction and being able to connect with people better. So in addition, I also specialize in kink and kink BDSM, non-monogamy, LGBTQIA, relationships. And it's just, so I offer workshops, coaching opportunities. I also train therapists on different cases and different strategies to help clients. And so I'm kind of a teacher, educator, but also very much helping people get to where they need to be in their sex lives.
Amazing. I mean, the work that you do is so essential for so many different people. And you mentioned seduction, and I definitely want to dive into seduction today and kind of tease out what makes somebody a good seducer.
Yeah. So there's so many things that make people a good seducer. I think a lot of times when people think like, oh, seduction looks like this, or they've seen something on TV of what seduction looks like, that's really not the case, right? Seduction is about what are your own sexual assets and how are you using them in a way that's most beneficial to you to connect with someone else, right? What are those sexual assets that you could emphasize? So with seduction, there's, like I said, there's no one way to be a great seducer. People can be seduced by you being shy, right? People can be seduced by you being charismatic. It's all about who you are and what you have to offer. And the thing about seduction is that, so I was totally inspired by The Art of Seduction by Robert Greene, right? So I'm reading The Art of Seduction. I'm blazing through this book and like things are just firing in my head. And then I thought about the learning styles. And I'm like, well, the way that people learn, this is how people learn. And so for me, it just clicked. And so I came up with the seduction learning styles in a way for people to understand, hey, this is how you understand people, whether that's visually, auditory, or tactile kinesthetic, right? By touch. And so with the, so basically what I did was like, oh my gosh, this is what I do naturally. And now, how do I teach this to people so that they can emotionally connect with someone and feel good about that connection without feeling like they're being manipulated or they're being, I don't know, evil or, like it's not being used for good, right? I think when we think a lot of times around seduction, we think about like what was that damn I don't even know the guys that were popular around what is it negging people, right? Like trying to get women to do things they want them to do by doing certain actions, like but in a very predatory way. And so with the seduction learning styles, it's a way of not doing it in a predatory way, but again, using your own sexual assets to genuinely make a connection with someone. And so, yeah, there's those three elements that I talk about that have been the foundation of my business.
And what are those three elements?
Yeah, so with the three elements, there's again visual, auditory, and tactile. And
Oh,
with
gotcha. Okay.
yeah, and so like with visual, when we're thinking about how to seduce someone, we're thinking about eye contact, right? So when you have eye contact with someone, that is your connection with them. That's the strongest when it comes to visual. Now, if you are a person who might be neurodivergent or you might have to look away here and there, that's perfectly okay. You can use other things, other seductive things about yourself to make sure you have that visual connection. So another thing is cleaning up the clutter. I was on this podcast and she was talking about dating. She's like, I went to this guy's house and there was just like stuff everywhere. She's like, oh no, we have to go back to my house because like your place is a mess, right? And so it's not necessarily about the mess, but it is about making sure everything is in its place. Like if there's too much distraction for a visual person, they're looking here, they're looking there, they're not looking at you, they're not paying attention to you, and you need to be the focus. So that's why making sure you tidy up, clean up the clutter is going to be really important for people who are visual.
Okay, that makes total sense to me. That would be distracting to me too.
Yeah. I'm definitely a very visual person. And so when you think about like visual people are also like daydreamers, right? So they're like dreaming, they're thinking about things, they're imagining things, their imaginations are like beautiful and amazing. So if you want to connect with them, you've got to tell stories that are like rich in detail, right? So you're talking about the giant pink elephant with the purple bow tie stomping around in their Ugg boots. I mean, I don't know, right? Like you have to think about like all the different ways to describe it. And that's how you keep them going because you're keeping their imagination busy. Another thing too, dressing impeccably or, being well dressed. That is a great way to entice someone visually. Or getting undressed, whatever the case may be. But depending on their taste, right? It might be tattoos, earrings, funky glasses, any kind of accessories that are maybe really bold are really attractive to visual people. And then, of course, the last element really around visual is being the opposite of the room. So say you're in a very busy place, right? Everything's kind of jumping. To catch someone's eye visually, you would either need to be staying still or you need to be moving very slowly, right? You're literally being the opposite of the room so that person can hone in and focus on you. So that means being late to the party. That means, making your presence known in any kind of way. That's a way to kind of show up and visually be striking. So those are all the things around visual. And usually I give a quiz all the time. So if people want to go on my website, it's velvetlipsexed.com/quiz. And when you take the quiz, you'll figure out, okay, I'm visual, I'm auditory, or tactile. But you're not going to be doing that all the time. You're not going to be telling your lovers, hey, take this quiz. I mean, I guess you could, but one of the ways to really do that is to see how they approach you, right? Like, number one, are they, when they look at you, do they look you up and down? Because generally people who look you up and down, you're like, oh, they're visual, right? Or people who can maintain eye contact for a long time, are pretty visual people. Yeah, those are like the two, I would say, the main kind of focuses on seeing if someone is actually visual or not. And sometimes too, if they have a lot of accessories, they like to, because they're seeing themselves in the mirror, right? They're like, oh, I gotta do the things. So usually those are visual people as well. Funky hair, funky glasses, any of those are usually our telltale signs of a visual person.
And what about taking away the visual or blindfolding somebody?
Yes, sensory deprivation, torture for visual people, right? I mean, auditory people would probably be fine, or, maybe because it'll enhance your senses. But for a visual person, it might be, and if you're into kink and a little bit of psychological torture, it will be great for that, to do that sensory deprivation piece of the blindfold. People generally love blindfolds because it helps them to be more into their body and be more present. Because if you are sometimes too visual, you're too distracted maybe by everything else. But it also will detract from something that you are attracted to, right? So if you're turned on by a certain element visually and you are removing that, that's going to be that's going to cause a little bit of a distraction.
Okay. So we talked a little bit about visual. How about we move on to the next one? Let's talk about the next one. Let's break it down, because I'm loving everything that you're saying here.
So so for auditory, it's really great because I love auditory people. They're fun. They're great to talk to. And the way you know an auditory person is because you ask them a question. This is the auditory hack, right? You ask them a question, like, hey, how was your day? They're like, oh, I woke up on the wrong side of the bed, and then I got out, and then I did this, and then I did that, and blah, blah, blah. They keep carrying on, tell you the whole story. That's generally an auditory person, right?
Okay.
Whereas if you said something like, oh, how was your day, to someone who might be visual or tactile, they might be like, oh yeah, my day was good. It was pretty smooth sailing, won't give you as much detail. Right. The thing about auditory people is that they love to hear themselves talk. And so what you want to do, you want to keep them talking. How do you do that? Active listening, giving feedback about what they're saying, asking them questions about what they're saying. You're not just, you're not just, saying your own thing. Because a lot of times when people get into conversations, they want to relate, right? They're like, oh, I did this, and now let me start talking about myself, and want to have this volleying conversation. Whereas auditory people, nah, let them talk. Let them talk. Let them keep talking. Give them the questions. Give them the feedback. And if they have a question for you, show up, talk about it. Yeah. So when thinking about, again, having that active listening, giving those questions, giving that feedback for them, letting them talk is a really great way for them to connect, because they're like, oh, you're listening to me. You're showing interest in me. And it makes them feel like, okay, since you're interested in me, I'm also interested in you. Right. And so that is a way to connect. Another way is expanding your vocabulary. Auditory people love to hear different kinds of words. So if you're expanding your vocabulary, having vocabulary with multiple syllables, words that you wouldn't ordinarily use in everyday language, words that maybe they've never even heard of, that is really sexy to a auditory person. I don't know if you've ever saw that movie Threesome with Stephen Baldwin.
No.
Oh my gosh. Oh God, It's so good. Go watch it after this.
I was just thinking of a sapiosexual, right? And someone who's like really interested in someone else that is intelligent, right? And listening to them talk about something that they're interested in, whatever it may be, can be such a turn on because they're just very passionate about it. And so I'm definitely a sapiosexual. Does that make me auditory?
Maybe. I mean, you do have a podcast. So
that's true. I do like to talk a lot.
So, but yeah, it is this element of auditory seduction, right? So, in the movie Threesome, it's really great because these two guys who are kind of vying for this woman's love, they get into reading her the dictionary, and she's just like getting so turned on, right? Like so turned on by words in the dictionary, of course, words she's never heard of and whatnot. But this is the way. But yes, I would say yes, sapiosexual. It would definitely fall under that element for sure. Uh, that's great.
So this is how
Um,
you would seduce somebody that has an auditory propensity, right? This is what we're trying to, okay, gotcha. And then what's the
exactly.
last category? So we did visual, we did auditory, and then that last one was tactile.
Yes, the last one is tactile. So tactile, is all about touch. So that means using different like points of pressure on your fingers, points of on your arms, on your body, using your body parts to really have all those different points of pressure. Dancing with them, right? Because a lot of times kinesthetic tactile people are my physical people, right? These are my probably gym rats, sports people, dancers, anybody who loves to do things with their body, moving their body in any way. But dancing with them is huge because it's like your bodies are talking, right, with one another. But also fabric, different kinds of fabric. A lot of times every day we wear, cotton fabric. So wearing something different, maybe it's linen, maybe it's seersucker, lace, leather, whatever the case may be, playing with that fabric or having different fabric on you can entice a tactile person to want to touch you. And then really just using kind of push-pull movements, creating erotic tension. That's why dancing is pretty powerful, because you're creating those push-pull movements. You're moving in a way that your bodies can think. So, and really fostering that erotic tension. So, yeah, erotic tension, anticipation, all of those things that are elements for foreplay and seduction. Yeah.
Yeah, as I'm listening to you, I'm like, what am I more tactile? Am I more auditory? I don't think I'm visual. I do like visual, but I also love to be blindfolded. So,
Mhm.
because I feel like it just enhances the rest of the sensations in my body and it like puts me more in the moment. So, yeah, I think it's between the auditory for me and the tactile. I'm definitely a physical person. I love to dance. And especially like with somebody else, if you're interested in them, obviously that's really fun and does build that connection. So I don't know, I'm kind of in between, and I'm sure that everybody has elements of all of these things, right?
Oh,
And so
yes.
what you want to do is sort of play with all of these different avenues of seduction, so that you can really connect with the person that you're with.
Absolutely, absolutely. And when I'm working with my couples, we break it down, right? Do you like stories in detail? Do you like that eye contact? Do you like dancing? What are the things that you like? Because ultimately, those are the things that you're going to want to connect with, or connect on. So, yeah, super important. And we are a little bit of each thing. We're not all just one thing. We're definitely a mixture of all of those things. Just usually one or two are the more primary than all of them. But some people are turned on all across the board. So there's that.
Yes, that could be me too. I was thinking about when you were talking about the auditory and listening to somebody that is talking and talking and talking, and you want to stop them, right? And of course, like my mind went straight to kink and gagging them and saying, hey, if you don't shut up, I'm going to gag you.
Uh-huh.
So, why don't we talk about gagging a little bit and why that would be used in a kink scene?
Well, when thinking about gagging, it can be used for psychological torment, right? Like, especially if you are a talker and you're like, or I typically have seen them kind of around brats, like doing brat taming and just kind of being like, you're talking too much. You're messing up like my Dom vibe or my brat tamer vibe. And now it's time to just like regulate and pull that in. So a gag can definitely be used to minimize the speech. And yeah, and for that psychological torment piece. But the gagging itself, I think, is just kind of one element in the whole entire power exchange. Because usually, if you're gagging someone, you're doing something else as well, right? It's not just so. Yeah. So with gagging, it's usually just an element, right? It's an element, a part of the power exchange itself. So there's usually something else that's happening. Many kinksters, we have a variety of instruments we like to use, often at the same damn time, right? So, you could have the gag and you could be tied up. You could have this element of bondage that might be discipline or it might just be a part of the play. It's really just a matter of, what you want and what's going on in the scene. Of course, that's always pre-negotiated, right? You're always going to be negotiating if there's going to be a ball gag or not. So that is important to state, that there's always the element of consent there of like the ball gag could come into play or not. You know what I mean? And that's the most important piece, is the consensual piece.
Yes. And then once you have that, the element of surprise too, because or not, right? So, yes, it might be, or maybe not. Yes, this, maybe not this,
Mhm,
So, really having that element of surprise, that, novelty is always exciting. So
mhm,
I want to
absolutely.
ask you another question about what you consider, based on the clients that you've had in the past and your experience as a coach, what you think the most common sex related apprehension is. What do you think people worry about the most?
Mm. In my work, it's usually that they're not having enough sex. You know
Okay.
what I mean?
When they're
So
coming to you, right?
yeah, yeah. Yeah, they're not having enough sex. They're not connecting the way they need to be connecting. And that can be really, I don't want to say devastating, but it can really be a setback, especially if they have a really good relationship. You know what I mean? I have a couple now, um, beautiful, lesbian couple, and they haven't had sex in a year, and they're like, oh, this is wrong, and so they came to me. But I had a couple, I have a heterosexual couple who were like, hey, we need your help. And I'm like, okay, how often are you having sex? What's going on? They're like, well, once a week. And I'm like, that's pretty average, that's pretty normal. And they're like, but we were going like 2-3 times a day, every day. And I was like, oh, so it's not their normal. You know what I mean?
Right, right.
And
Yeah, from
so
2 to 3 times a day to once a week, that's a huge change.
yeah, exactly, exactly. So usually it's around, what I find my work in is they're lacking the sex life. I have another couple that they haven't had sex in a couple of years. Another heterosexual couple, they haven't had sex in a couple of years. One of them is like, I want to reconnect sexually. The other one is like, I'm not sure if I even want to have sex with them anymore. You know what I mean? So it's like being on two different pages, in the sexual playbook. So uh it's a yeah, I think it's like a little bit of uh, a challenge when it comes to how much sex should we be having, or just connecting sexually when you have this best friend that you really love, and you want to stay in this relationship with, or you've been married for 10 plus years, and you're like, we gotta figure this out. So yeah, that's the most, I think, pressing thing in my work.
Right. I mean, it makes sense because you're a sexologist, so people would be coming to you when they
Yeah.
have issues with their sex lives, right? And so in coupled relationships, what sort of advice do you give them to help them to reconnect? And I know we talked a lot about seduction, and I feel like all of that could actually play into some of what you teach. But what else are you teaching the couples to sort of help them reconnect? Especially, I mean, if they have such a discrepancy where they haven't had sex for years and one of them is wanting to connect and the other one is like, I don't even know if I ever want to have sex with them again. How do you even bridge that gap? Because that is a huge gap to bridge.
Yeah, working on that now. That will be a case study. Um, I think mostly it comes down to I really love one of his books. I really love an exercise that he puts out. Um, and it is the book is called Sex Detox.
Okay.
And in this book, he talks about, what is the couple's sexual relationship identity? And I think this was really important because when you say, okay, what is our shared sexual relationship identity? How often do we want to have sex? Like what feels good to the both of us? Now, if one person is saying 0 and the other person is saying 2 times a week, well, then you need to talk about what's going on in the relationship, right? Now you're being forced to be like, wait a minute, why 0? You know what I mean? Um, and She Comes First is definitely one of my favorite books. And so, but with this sexual relationship identity, in other words, it's bridging the gap between the couples, right? What are the things? What kind of sex do you want? Do you want that slow, passionate, sex, or do you want that raw, carnal energy, energetic sex? What kind of sex do you want? And what are the great things about you sexually that you can bring to the table? What about your partner? So really just having an understanding of what you both want in the sexual relationship is going to be important. And honestly, for me, it's just helping to get these couples start talking about their
Yes.
sex lives, right? Like for the couple, that's like, how kinky is she really? Yeah, I want to know too. How kinky is she really? How bi is she really? And he doesn't have, he's like, he needs a mediator for me to like say, well, how bi are you really? Like help usher in this conversation that people might not be aware of. And I think sometimes when it comes to queerness, people kind of struggle with. I had a couple of clients, a couple that were my clients that they her boyfriend encouraged her to go on dates with other women and to basically like tell me about you hooking up with this woman. And she was like, well, like, am I doing this for him, or am I, like because I want to please him? But then as we got deeper, she was like, she totally started bawling, started crying, because she was just like, I actually like women, and I think I was just so afraid to admit that I love women and that I do actually enjoy going on these dates. And like, but I've been in the South, and this is what the South says about being in a relationship with another woman, and how that hindrance and playing into these gender identity tropes that can be can put some can just put you in a negative space. You know what I mean? So again, it's really being able to figure out what are your true desires. True desires are huge, because some people are like, I don't even know what I like or what turns me on, and it's just like, what? Like, you don't know what turns you on? Like, I can describe so many things that turn me on. But again, that's in my nature. I wake up in the morning, thinking about sex. So, but again, like, if you don't know these things, how are you going to communicate that to your lover? Right? Like, that's going to be very, very difficult to do. So, like, again, it comes down to that communication piece and understanding your own desires, really being able to connect and bridging that sexual gap that you might be experiencing.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I want to know what advice, because you just talked about someone not knowing what their desires are, right? And what advice would you give to somebody who was single, right? And maybe newly single, maybe out of a divorce or long-term relationship or just single and play in the field, like what advice would you give to somebody? Because I feel like people do need to know these things about themselves. And a lot of people aren't really looking internally and being introspective about what they really want in terms of their sex life to be able to translate that.
Yes. Well, not to toot my own horn, but I'm going to toot it anyway. One of the best advice I could give to somebody who is single is to read our book, The Ultimate
Okay.
Guide to Seduction and Foreplay. And Jess and I wrote this book very purposefully, like almost like a workbook, but it helps with bringing more self-awareness to people that people may not have previously. And it's not only good for couples, but it's good for singles because then you can actually communicate what your needs are and how to express the things that you want, need, and desire. I had I was helping this guy who was single and dating, and he's like, okay, I want to connect with women. And I'm like, okay, well, why don't you go to a coffee shop? You like going to the coffee shop, you like reading. So he goes to the coffee shop, he's reading. A woman is reading a book that he is like in love with, like he loves the book. So he goes up to her and says like, hey, what do you think about the book? And she starts going off about it, right? So she's excited. She's like, oh my God, this book is amazing. Da, 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 da. She starts, running her mouth about it. What do you think he does?
He starts running his mouth too.
And that's the opposite of what he needs to be doing, because
Right.
if he was paying attention to anything that I said to him and
Before,
anything that
right?
I've been teaching him,
Right.
you would know to shut up and ask questions or give feedback and let them talk. And so he interrupts her, and then she shuts down. And then he's like, I don't know what I did. And I'm just like, like you did this, you know what you did. You interrupted her. She was connecting with you, and you severed the connection. Why did you do that to yourself? And so, when it comes to, like I said, when it comes to dating, I think being able to understand the seduction learning styles is absolutely foundational, because that is going to be how you connect to that other person. And having that self-awareness of your own strengths, your own desires, your own wants, needs, expressing those things in a way that makes that other person feel comfortable and seen is the way to genuinely connect. I also think, when it comes to dating, it is also like doing the things that you freaking love. One of the gaps that I see in people who date is that they aren't going out to things that they love, right? They might be, and I'm not trying to ding like online dating or app dating or whatever. But there's something genuine about meeting somebody in person. And when you're on an app, you're seeing just a small layer of that person. You're not feeling their energy. You're not smelling them. You're not going to be able to touch them or even kiss them. So it really, for me, is too much surface, unless they actually meet and, go in that direction. So for me, it's all about one of the biggest struggles that I see with my people who are dating is that they're not doing things that they love. So for instance, if you are a bowler, go bowling, join a bowling league. You know what I mean? If you love sports, go join a sports league. If you love kayaking, go with a freaking kayaking group or a hiking group or whatever the hell you like to do. If you like to be in the club, go to the club. If you like to be outside, whatever the case may be, like, go and do the things, because you're going to meet somebody who's also interested in the same thing. And similarities are the things that keep us together. Sometimes people say, oh, opposites attract. That's only true up to a certain point. You know what I mean? It's mostly similarities that are going to give you the distance when it comes to actually connecting with someone on a genuine level. So as for dating, go out and do the things you love, meet the people that are in those environments of the things that you like to do. So yeah.
Yes, I agree. I agree. And meeting someone in person is definitely way better than meeting somebody online. I mean, it's such a, you obviously cut down a lot of the process. But what do you then do once you do meet the person to sort of figure out if they're the right relationship for you? Like, how do you know when to like move on, and how do you know when to just walk away? And
Yes.
sometimes it's very obvious, but sometimes it's not.
Yeah. So one of the things that I think is the most important is like the core values, you know what I mean? And this is what I learned from teaching sociology, is that there are certain elements that are going to break people apart, right?
Hmm.
And if those things are not, if your values aren't aligned, it's going to be an issue. And the key factors here that make or break things typically are religion, um, children,
Politics. Okay. Children.
reverence
I
for
was going to say
children, yep,
politics,
government and
government.
politics,
Hmm.
yes, and any kind of other educational social institution that has an influence over you or an influence on you. And so the yeah, the issue really is, are you able to overcome those things, or, what's going to happen here? So, there's what was a uh, uh, so for instance, children, right? So if
Yes.
you're dating, children are huge. Children are huge. They are the number, I hate to say this statistic, but it's pretty true in the sense of like it's generally like the number one thing that breaks people apart.
Really? You
And
mean like children in a relationship, or out children that are outside of the relationship?
probably could be both.
What I mean
Yeah,
by that
children in the
is like
relationship, not being in
children in a
alignment.
okay, not
Not
being in
not being
alignment,
in
really.
alignment with the children that you have in the relationship,
That you have
and
together.
or yeah, that you have together, and
Gotcha.
or children you're bringing into the relationship, and or, if you have different thoughts about children, right? So I've dealt with couples who are childless by choice, right?
Right.
Like we are on the same page. We value our autonomy. We don't want to raise another generation. We're done, right? So there's like, but if you come to someone and someone's like, I want a child, and the other person is like, I don't want a child,
Not a
that's
good
it.
fit.
You're not
Right.
a good fit, period.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
so again, it's those values that have to be in alignment. And again, those are major, major values, even religion. And sometimes people are like, oh, we can get past religion, or maybe they do like a dual religious household, and kind of respect each other's religion. And that can work if you have that kindness and understanding and you value that. But if you're like, well, now I'm feeling resentful that I've married this person who is not of my religion, you know what I mean? Um,
And they don't want to
and
participate in the things that are important to you. Yeah.
Yeah. So that can be challenging. Or I've had a couple people convert right before the marriage. You know what I mean? So they're still hanging on a lot of those other values that they had before they converted over. And so that can also be a source of tension sometimes as well, in trying to get through that um family life, having what do you call it? Extended family. Some people are like, I'm all about my extended family. They can come and stay with us all the time, or
Right.
they're
Right.
always over in my face.
Right.
Some people are like, hell no, the family cannot be coming over, and no, you need to check that. And no, and so having those discussions around those, because the family's going to be around. You know what I mean? You can't just
Yep.
family's going to be family. You're going to be attached to that family if you're thinking about, making a life with that person. So
Yes.
these are just, yes, things, just hardcore things to really think about. But again, being on the same value system is the most important. So
Is super
asking those
key.
hard questions first,
Early
I
on, right? Early
early
on.
on, so you
Because
can
why
just keep
waste your
moving.
time, right?
Yep. Yep. You do
Exactly.
not want to waste your time. I don't want to be 6
Exactly.
months in and being like, "Oh, you don't like children?" I have a
Right.
5-year-old, like, bye. Like, what are we
Those
doing?
are such important things to know early on, and I think a lot of people sometimes avoid the, quote unquote harder conversations initially because they're like, "Oh, we should just get to know each other and let's see if we have a connection first before I bring in all of this extra stuff." And it's like, "No, why would you do that? It's the extra stuff that you need to let them know about ahead of time so that they can make a decision." You know?
Exactly.
And you can make a decision. If you don't like their reaction, you could make a decision on whether to continue or not. So it's so essential to really be upfront and honest from the get-go.
Mhm.
So that brings us to our role play section, and I'm excited about the role play today because Marla and I decided that we are going to do a surprise um role play, and we did not plan anything ahead of time. She is just going to be spontaneous, and so am I. And so with that being said, I just want to make sure you don't have any questions before we start.
Um, no, I don't have any questions.
Okay, so I don't even know the role I'm going to play. I usually know that walking into it. I know nothing. So I'm just going to go into this as if it's like a blind date.
Okay.
All right, here we go. And action. Ladies, whether you are just starting your menopause journey or well into it and have questions about hormone replacement therapy, you're not alone. Many women experience vaginal dryness, decreased sensitivity, and urinary incontinence, like leaking when you sneeze, laugh, or exercise. These symptoms can be frustrating and limiting, but they are also very treatable. I experienced this myself and decided to try Parlor Game's topical estrogen and progesterone creams. Within 1 month of consistent use, my incontinence completely resolved. Topical estrogen helps restore tissue health, improve sensitivity, and support bladder control, while topical progesterone supports hormonal balance. If you are ready to stop suffering in silence, check the show notes for the link to Silky Peach, the topical estrogen cream, and Vibrant Third, the topical progesterone cream. I feel relieved and confident again, and I know you can too. If you've ever wished sex could feel more connected, more intense, or honestly just more fun, you need to check out Shameless Care. They're a telemedicine company built entirely around sexual health, real doctors, real prescriptions, and products that actually work. Like Shameless Chemistry, their oxytocin plus tadalafil blend that deepens connection and boosts arousal. Or Shamelessly Aroused, a topical cream with the active ingredient found in men's ED medication, increasing blood flow exactly where it counts. Every order includes a short video introduction from your doctor, transparent pricing, and no subscriptions ever. Just real, sex-positive healthcare that delivers results. Because you're a Please Me listener, you can use coupon code PleaseMe for $15 off your order of any product on the Shameless Care website. Use the code PleaseMe, that's PLEASEME, at checkout to claim your $15 off. Again, that's shamelesscare.com, code PleaseMe. Because great sex shouldn't be complicated. It should be shameless. This episode is sponsored by Shameless Care.
So Eve, well, can we rewind real quick? Because I don't want to go into it as if it's a blind date, because it feels that means that we don't know each other. Again,
Okay.
and the point was like, I want you to try something new. You know what I mean? So how about we say we've been on a couple of dates at the very least, or we've been on a few dates, or we've been dating for a few months. How about that?
Okay, so we've been dating for a few months, and so we are going to be okay, doing something together. What are we doing?
Yes. So it's a Netflix and chill night.
Okay, Netflix and chill night. I like those.
Mhm. Mhm. So, okay, so I can start now. So, Eve, oh my gosh, it's been so amazing, hanging out with you. It's been really fun. We've been having a really, really great time. And, one of the things that I really love about you is that I love the feel of your lips, like all over my body. It's one of the things that, is very fun for me. So I was wondering, they've been on most parts of my body, but they haven't been to one place that I really want you to go. And I'm a little nervous around telling you because, some people like to do this thing, some people don't. Um, so I just kind of want to see, how you feel about it and if like you
Okay.
can show a little maybe grace towards me as I, maybe try not to judge me, or if you want to like answer, just, can you be gentle with me for this
Well,
ask?
I will definitely be gentle. And I'm now extremely curious because I feel like I've kissed every part of your body and I do love putting my lips all over you. So I would love to know exactly what you're talking about. And I think I might have an idea, but I'm not absolutely positive. So I'm looking forward to hearing to what you have to say.
Okay, so like I said, I really love the feel of your mouth on all of my body. But one place that you haven't gone yet is on my feet and my toes. And, you know, like I appreciate you taking the time to slowly, kiss me, caress me. But I just kind of feel like my toes are getting ignored. And I really would love for you to maybe next time, that we're intimate, maybe you could try, putting my toes in your mouth if that's something that you'd be down to do.
It's interesting that you say that because I actually love to have my feet played with and touched and even licked and sucked and all of that. And so I'm surprised that we haven't explored that yet, honestly. One thing that I am really conscious about, though, for feet specifically and especially, is hygiene. So maybe we can have a bath together and like put some essential oils in there and really like just soak in there and soak up all the like nice smells and everything. And that would be a really fun place to start sucking on your feet as well. But of course, we can bring it into the bedroom afterwards.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And maybe we can like think about this as like a fun date. So maybe we can go get pedicures together and then, talk about like what this has looked like in our past, or share like what we look forward to or anticipating, and then we can do the bath or whatever think about. But I'm definitely open to that for sure.
I
Thank
love
you
that
for being
idea.
receptive
Yeah,
to
no,
the
absolutely. I
idea.
love the idea of getting a pedicure, and even more, I love the idea of going to get foot massages together because I absolutely love foot massages. I think they're like so incredible, and I always walk out of there feeling like $1 million and like my feet are brand new.
Yes, me too. Yes, absolutely. Oh my gosh, this is gonna be great. So I love this. I love
Yes, we
this
can have like a whole
co-creation.
yes, we can have like a whole foot date. That would be
Yes.
something that we could yes, I love that, and the fact that you like it and I also like it can be something that we can explore together. So this sounds like a really fun night. Can we do it today?
Well, it's a Netflix and show. We're supposed to be watching the new movie that just came out today. So
Okay, well, maybe we
we
can
gotta
well,
plan for it. We gotta plan for it.
we'll have to plan it for a day where we can get all of those things done, the pedicure and the foot massage and the
Yes,
bath and all of
exactly.
that. I think that that
Exactly.
sounds like a lot of fun, and I cannot wait for that date.
Yes, awesome. Perfect. Thank you.
Of course, and scene. That's not what I was expecting you to say.
It's so funny. What were you expecting me to say?
Oh
I'm
my
so
gosh,
curious.
I thought you were going to talk about rimming. I really did, and I was like, because I was, and so that's what I was thinking of. But I was like, okay, she didn't say that. So either way, it was really fun. Um,
It's so funny? When I was dating, if this is gonna sound really messed up, but maybe I don't know, messed up or not. But one of my rules was that nobody would get a second date if they didn't eat my ass on the first date. That was my rule. That was my dating rule.
Is that still your dating rule?
No, no, no. I've grown, not that I've grown past it or anything, but I think it's more so like the rules I have the change dramatically in the space that I'm in at the moment,
Gotcha,
so
gotcha. That is
yeah.
that is so funny. I love that you say that. And it's really, really very common now. I mean,
Yeah.
everybody is doing it, right? And I just saw a reel the other day on Instagram, I think, and it was about this woman who was talking about the bacterial infections that people are getting from eating ass all the time, and people are not telling their partner that they may have like a stomach virus or something going on, and they let them do that to them, and then they're like getting all of these viruses. So obviously, yes, it feels amazing, right? And yes, we like it. However, make sure that if you're not feeling well, you skip that, because that's not a good thing to do on those days. And just obviously hygiene, right? Hygiene
Right.
is important. So if that's on the
Hygiene is
table,
so
you might,
important.
yeah. So if that's on the table, you might want to shower first, right? Because the day is long and there's a lot of bathroom breaks in between, and so you just got to make sure that you're not leaving any residual behind. But absolutely, I'm all for that too.
Oh my gosh. And it's so funny because like the more I learn, because it's a nonstop journey in this world. But the more I learn, it's just like, gosh, I wish I would learn less. I would know less. You know what I mean? Um, but
I'm not
yeah.
gonna lie, like lately with all of the sex information that's come out around Jeffrey Epstein's files being released
Mm,
and all of that, I've been like on high alert trigger all the
mm,
time. Like
mm.
everything that it just has been such a trigger for me. So yeah, sometimes you want to know less, right? You want to hear less of the things that you don't want to hear about. And sometimes you really have to figure out how to cut the world off and just kind of turn inward and like focus on yourself, because it can be detrimental.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Well, I want to give my listeners the opportunity to reach out to you if they want to. So where can my listeners find you?
Yeah, absolutely. You can find me at velvetlipssexed.com. You can find my on Instagram, on all the social medias at Velvet Lips Sex Ed, but sex without the E. So Velvet Lips Sex Ed on all platforms. And check out my YouTube channel and be a subscriber, and feel free to join my I have an erotic activity bucket list. So if you're interested in getting to know your partner a little bit more, or exploring things and having that variety and unpredictability with your lover, I think having the erotic activity bucket list is a really great way to do that. So people can go on my website and get that erotic activity bucket list for free. So you can download it for free. And yeah, I mean, that's
And
it.
you mentioned that quiz before too. Tell us
Yes, take
about
the
that quiz
quiz.
one more time. Tell us about that
Yes,
quiz one more time.
yes, it's velvetlipssexed.com/quiz. So go
Slash
ahead,
quiz.
take the quiz, and you'll be able to figure out if you are auditory, visual, or tactile, or send it to your lover and see if they are auditory, visual, or tactile.
I love that. I think that's so essential for people to know about themselves and to know about their partner too, because this is how you can really plug into what their style is, and you can really help them to feel comfortable with you as well. And, when we're feeling comfy with the other person, that's when, consent on the yes side, turns into some fun. So you want to make, not that you're trying to manipulate somebody into, anything, but, you want to make them feel comfortable.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, with that being said, you all know you can reach me on pleaseme.online. And I want to talk to you just quickly about, and I keep touching my computer. So it's like moving the screen. So my apologies, but I want to talk to you about the sexual longevity protocol that I just created. It is the private client blueprint for lifelong sexual pleasure. And that is going to be on my website. So be on the lookout for that coming up soon. It is a 3-day course that I have done, and it is going to be a lot of information about how you can continue to have the most amazing sex life now, well into your 70s, 80s, 90s, and beyond. So, with all of that being said, thank you so much, Marla, for being on the show today. This has been such a pleasure.
Thank you so much for having me. It was really great. Thank you so much.
Until next time. Are you looking for a sexy date? Look no further than SDC.com. SDC.com is the premier ethically non-monogamous website that is worldwide. It also hosts a wealth of information on sexuality and sexual health, and I host a free live webinar monthly on the site. You can use code 37340 for a free trial membership on me. And be sure to reach out on the site and say hello. I want to personally invite you to join me on Patreon for ad-free listening, bonus episodes, and early releases. Already there is a lot of bonus content on there with many webinars that I've done in the past and a show that I've never released to the public before. My show is completely self-funded, and when you are able to support me in this way, I'm able to spread my message of body positivity, self-love, and women's empowerment, and empowerment in general around sexuality around the globe. And so with that being said, I appreciate everyone who has already joined Patreon. And if you've thought about joining, now's your nudge to do so.